So when you think about budget action cameras, there's two companies that come to mind. One of them is going to be Akaso, but the one that actually started it all is SJCAM. Now we really haven't heard from SJCAM in quite a while now, but they've released a new camera. Well, they haven't released it yet. They sent it to me for an early review. It is the SJ6, no it's not the Legend, it's the SJ6 Pro dual screen action camera. And by the way, SJCAM, they did send me this SJ6 Pro dual screen action camera. They did not pay me for this video. They did not tell me what to say. They just sent it to me for my honest and unbiased review. But this video does have a sponsor, and that is Artlist, but we'll hear from Artlist a little bit later on. Well, let's talk about this camera. Claims 4K 30 and 4K 60. Are they back to their old shenanigans of what they did years ago? Or is this a new groundbreaking action camera? Well, that's coming right up. So now before I get into the unboxing and talk about all the specs of what this camera can actually do, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you some video examples of this, do a quick little audio test, and since it is branded the SJ6, I'm going to compare this to the SJ6 Legend from years ago, side by side, just to see how they compare, and then we'll talk about the internals of this camera and its strong points and its weak points. So since we're talking about the SJ6 model from SJCAM, I'm going to compare it to the SJ6 Legend. Now the SJ6 Legend, Novatech chip again, 1080p 30 frames per second. The SJ6 Pro at its 4K 30 frames per second. Quick little audio test, SJ6 Legend 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. SJ6 Pro 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Is there really a difference? So before we talk in depth about the resolutions that we saw on this, let's talk about the music that you heard, because this video is sponsored by Artlist, and let's hear from them now. And today's video is sponsored by Artlist and Artgrid, where you can get thousands of royalty-free and copyright-free music and video clips for Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and even all of your commercial projects as well. And once you download a song, it's yours to use forever. Click my link below to get an extra 2 months on your subscription. So, what did you think about the video footage that you saw? With the 1080p, the 2.7K, the 4K, the 4K 60. I know my thoughts on it, and I'm sure that you know your thoughts on it, being able to see a little comparison. But let's talk about real comparisons before I get into the internals of this camera. I'm going to compare the 4K 30 from this to the GoPro Hero 8 in 4K, and let's do that right now. Okay, GoPro versus SJ6 Pro 4K. So can you see the big difference between those two clips right there? I can, and unfortunately when we start talking about the internals of this SJ6 Pro, we're going to be a little bit on the letdown side. So the processing chip that is in this is a Novatech 96660. Yes, it is not capable of a real 4K. And that is a shame, because you can actually see it. What it is just interpolated 1080p brought up to 4K dimension, and that doesn't really bode well. And if you look at it side by side compared to the SJ6 Legend that I actually upscale from 1080p up to 4K, then you can see exactly what I'm talking about. And considering that now that this is late 2022, we're about to get into Black Friday. Yeah, that's right, all these sales going on. Now, speaking of sales, I don't know what this camera is priced at yet because I haven't heard back from SJCAM or my rep at SJCAM. Okay, quick little update. Future Andre here. The price of the SJ6 Pro will be priced at $99. All right, back to the video on what the final price of this is. But considering that it's a dual screen, that's worth something. But the whole, what really gets me is that this is almost 2023. And we got these same shenanigans still going on with this fake 4K. If it's real 4K, advertise it. If it's not, say that it's interpolated. But then again, don't even bill it as a 4K camera, because a lot of people, they don't want to even try to decipher, well, what does interpolated mean? Because they just look at 4K, like it says right on the box, 4K action camera. And if it's not 4K, I mean, look right there, 4K 60 frames per second. I mean, how many people will look at that and go, oh, it's real 4K? And then they stick it into their computer and they're like, it looks a little, but you know what? It's 4K. It's not 4K. And I really wish that SJCAM didn't do those little, I keep calling it shenanigans, because it all started with the SJ5000X Elite. They claim 4K, but it was interpolated 4K. But its 1080p was beautiful on it. And I wish that they had just billed that as a 1080p camera, because they would have went really far with it. But a lot of people, they didn't mind the whole interpolated 4K, because they said, oh, well, it's proper dimensions. Proper dimensions doesn't really mean anything. And unfortunately, when it comes to this camera claiming 4K 60 frames per second, it is not. So, battery life on this. How does a battery last? Battery lasts about 40 minutes in this, recording at its 4K 30 frames per second. Nice touchscreen on the back. It does have the front forward-facing screen, and I'll show you real quick. If you want to be able to turn it on, what you've got to do is go to the shutter button. What you've got to do is go to the shutter button and just hold it down. It will beep, and then it goes to front screen. So you can see the front screen is now on. Hold it down, beep, and then it's to the back screen. The user interface on this is pretty good. It's typical SJCAM, which is not the worst thing in the world, but it's also not the best thing in the world regarding its user interface. But, all in all, it's a big flop all the way around. If you look at what comes inside the box, yes, this one does have a USB Type-C. So finally, we get that type of connectivity for charging the camera, because it doesn't come with a battery charger. You get only one battery. And if you look inside the box, because the box is quite small compared to the normal SJCAM boxes, which were about this big, that's a big deal. You know why? Because you don't get a whole lot of accessories with it either. So I don't know what that they're going to price it with. When I do finally hear a response from SJCAM on what the final pricing is, I will put it in the description below so that you can check it out and see, in your opinion, is it worth it? What's this camera worth to me? If it's in the $80 range, maybe even $90 range, it may not be a bad action camera considering that it does have dual screens. But considering the lack of supplies that it comes with, now I will say one thing. SJCAM, they are really cool about supplying you with this little lens cover, which is very nice because when you have that on there and you're not using the camera, you don't have to worry about scratching up the lens on it. So that can save you some future headaches with having to change out a lens. But all in all, for me, I think it's a flop. I think that SJCAM, this is 2023, basically. I mean, you know, this camera is on their website, but it doesn't have any pricing or any of that. And when you think about, by the time that it does get released, it's probably going to be right around Black Friday or right around the beginning of December. There are other action cameras out there that are definitely worth your money. And when I say worth your money, is there a market for budget action cameras? Absolutely. I'm a high believer of it. And if you've been a follower of this channel for any length of time, you know that I really am a big proponent of budget action cameras, but I also feel that you get what you pay for. So if you do have the ability to afford a GoPro Hero 9, well, stay away from the 9 because the audio pops. But the GoPro Hero 10 or the GoPro Hero 11, if you've got the funding for it, absolutely, by all means, get it. If not, think about some of the other action cameras that are out there. I mean, I will say that a Casso with the V50X, I still think is what it is, 3 years old now, and it's still on sale for $99. And it's a pretty darn good action camera. And that is a real 4K image that is on the V50X as compared to this SJCAM SJ6 Pro. So that's just my take on it. Tell me in the comment section below, what do you think about the SJ6 Pro? Do you think it was great or do you think it was a flop? Because in my opinion, it was a flop all the way around. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next review. Bye-bye.